Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Wyoming Women's Business Center 2018 webinar series. Today's presentation is Building a Marketing Plan, 5 Simple Steps. My name is Waldo Smith. I'm a business counselor and director of microlending here at the WWBC, and I will be your moderator today. You'll notice on the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen, there is a section for questions and a chat section. If you have questions or comments during the presentation, you may type those in there and I will be monitoring that. I will pass those on to our presenter, who is Christine Langley, one of our business counselors at the WWBC. Christine is a sales and marketing expert with 15 or more years track record of achievement and demonstrated success driving sales growth in highly competitive markets. In addition to her corporate experience in general management, sales management, and human resources, she is also a serial small business entrepreneur and truly understands the joys and challenges associated with business ownership. The webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel after today. Just go to youtube.com if you'd like to review this presentation or know someone who could benefit from it. Type in Wyoming Women's Business Center and then make sure you subscribe to check out our other webinars that are currently posted. You can also visit our website at www.wyomingwomen.org or look us up on Facebook. At the end of the presentation, you'll be sent an email survey. Please complete the survey as this provides us valuable information for not only ourselves, but also our funding partners. You are all muted to minimize background noise. If you have questions during the presentation, again, type them in the question section or the chat box panel, and I will pass them on to Christine. With that, I will turn it over to Christine now, and go ahead.
All right, thanks everybody. Again, my name is Christine Langley, and just want to quickly go over today's agenda with you. We are the Wyoming Women's Business Center, and I'm going to cover some of the programs of the WWBC. Then we're going to jump right into building a marketing plan, 5 simple steps, and then we'll finish up today with a Q&A. All right, so the WWBC's mission is really promoting economic equality in Wyoming through successful business ownership. And so who we are, what we do, is we're a nonprofit organization that assists individuals who want to start or expand small businesses right here in the state of Wyoming. And so we do that through 3 different service offerings. The first being business planning and counseling. Our staff at WWBC offers this at no charge. And if you read some of the call outs on this graphic, you'll see that sometimes our primary role is really to just provide encouragement. And so I often tell my clients that my job is to be a cheerleader for you and your business. So the second is a networking and educational opportunities, just like this webinar being presented to you today. We also do monthly roundtables across the state, and Waldo mentioned earlier about our YouTube channel. And then lastly, we provide access to capital through our microloan program. If you'd like more information on that, you can contact Waldo Smith, and we'll have his contact information at the end of this webinar as well. Okay, everybody, so let's dive into strategy and marketing, building a marketing plan in 5 simple steps. And it's important that you have some paper and a pen handy so that you can start creating your marketing plan as I'm explaining these steps. Because my objective for you today is to have some concrete steps completed by the time we're done with this webinar. So get ready to get engaged and start thinking about your business. So before I go into the 5 steps, I want to begin by giving you some background on what your customer is actually experiencing when they're making a buying decision. And this is really best described through the buying process. So the first thing that happens with your customer, or even yourself, if you think about the last thing that you purchased, the first thing that happens is you become aware that you have a need to buy something. And so an example of this, my own personal business, small business right now is a carpet cleaning company. And our customers often become aware that they need their carpets cleaned because there's some kind of accident in their home with an animal or a child, or they become aware of a need because they're moving out and that's a requirement of their lease or of selling their home, that the carpets need to be cleaned. So that's the awareness stage of the buying process. The next thing that happens is your customer has to become interested in actually satisfying the need, right? So there's all kinds of things that we think about purchasing, or we become aware that we may have a need to buy it, but we're not necessarily interested in doing anything about it right now. And so you have to become interested in satisfying the need before you move down to the next stage of the buying process, which is what we call preference. And so in the third stage of the buying process, which is preference, that means that the customer actually has a preference for a particular product or service. And this is where marketing and sales really comes into play. So in order for a customer to have a preference for your business, of course, they need to be aware of your business in the first place, and then they need to understand what your unique features and benefits are so that they prefer your business over your competitors. The next stage of the buying process is trial. So some of our businesses have the opportunity to allow customers to try us out first. An easy example of this is a car dealership, right? You can go and test drive a car. In my business, in a carpet cleaning business, we may be able to do some small spot removal for you. And if you're satisfied with that, then you may go ahead and clean your entire house. So you can think about your business and if there's an opportunity to have some trial in the buying process for your customers. And then finally, we get to commitment. And this is where they're actually buying. They have committed to a product or service, and they actually become a customer. The great thing about them becoming a customer is that hopefully you can then advance them to the final stage of the buying process, and that's advocacy. Advocacy is where your customers talk about you in a positive way. They may post something online that gives you 5 stars, right? We all love that. They tell their friends and family about it, and you get additional business because of that. So it's important to remember that customers make buying decisions based on their needs and not your needs, right? So understanding the 3 different conditions of need and how they relate to your business can be really helpful. So the first condition of need is what we call dissatisfaction with the current situation. And what that means is I'm not happy with what's going on right now and I need to do something to change it. And this is our best condition of need. This is the easiest thing to sell to. So in my personal business, right, if your dog just had an accident and you have family coming for the weekend, you are very dissatisfied with your situation right now and you need us immediately. So this is an easy need to sell to. The next condition of need is an opportunity to improve the current situation. So it's not quite as desperate. They just see an opportunity for an improvement. And then the last condition of need is perceived deterioration. So essentially everything is totally fine right now, but in the future, I can see where it may get worse or it may not be okay. A great example of businesses that sell to perceived deterioration would be service businesses that sell like service contracts. So for example, you put a new furnace in your home and the service technician says, hey, would you like to get on this 3-year service plan with us? We'll come out twice a year, replace your filters, check your overall system, and make sure it's healthy. Even though you have a brand new piece of equipment, you're thinking, well, it's a good idea to have a maintenance package or a maintenance plan. And so they are truly selling to perceived deterioration. Okay, and last but not least is the sales funnel. This is a diagram that depicts the sales funnel, which is the process that you are using in order to secure a customer. And so if you compare the sales funnel to the actual buying process that we just covered, you'll be able to see really where the 2 intersect. And so when we talk about the sales funnel, we always break it into 4 different groups. And the first group is suspects. Suspects are above the funnel. These are customers that don't know, or prospective customers that don't know much about you, and truthfully, you don't know much about them. So in my business, for example, I have a list of all of the hotels and restaurants in Southeast Wyoming, because those are suspects for my business. They may not know about my service yet. I don't know who the contact people are for those businesses yet, but I at least know that they're suspects for me. The next stage of the sales funnel is prospects. And once they become prospects, they're in the very top of my sales funnel. And that's because I know something about them, they know something about me. There's been some kind of engagement that makes them a prospect. The next step of the sales funnel is when they become a customer. Now, they may be at the top of that sales funnel because they're just a trial customer, or they may be a committed or consistent customer, which puts them in the center of that funnel. And then finally, after they're consistent customers, we hope that they eventually become advocates and tell their friends and family and other people about our service, and that our company grows because of it. Now, you'll notice in the graphic to the left that only the red balls are coming out at the end of the funnel. And the reason is because there's holes in this funnel, right? Not all of our suspects become prospects, not all of our prospects become customers, and so on. And the truth is, across industries, you have about a 25% closing ratio between stages. And so what that means is only 25% of your suspects are going to become prospects, and only 25% of your prospects are going to become customers. Only 25% of your customers become advocates. So let's put that into a real world example. If you had a list of 100 suspects, that means that you could realistically expect 25 of those to become prospects. And of those 25 prospects, you'd have 5 actually do business with you, 5 customers, and of those 5 customers, you might get 1 advocate. So when you think about those numbers, it's important to remember the volume of suspects you need to begin with. And that's one of the reasons that putting a marketing plan together is such a priority in your business. So completing a situation analysis is the very first step to building your marketing plan. And this is really the background and basis for your future promotional campaign and messaging. So it's important to not skip this part. When doing a situation analysis, remember, you don't need to write a 50-page analysis. What we're really looking for is a list or charted information that you can refer back to when needed. And so I know sometimes business owners think that the features and benefits are really obvious in their business and they don't need to be explained. But trust me, it's not obvious to your customers. It's just that you're really close to your own business, and so it seems obvious. But the truth is they absolutely need to be told what the features and benefits are in your business. So let's get a little interactive here with the other participants on this webinar today. If you can think of a feature in your business, I want you to write the word feature with a little colon in the chat box, and I'll get us started here so you can see what I'm talking about. If you write feature in the chat box and then list one of your features. And so for me, it's all about our low moisture technology. So that's the key feature in my business. And then same thing with benefits. If you have ideas of what benefits are in your business that go with the feature that you list, then I want you to throw that out as well. And so a big benefit for me is that the carpets are dry in 15 minutes. So any ideas that you guys have on features and benefits, throw those out there. When you think about your feature, the feature is an inherent characteristic. It's something that exists in your business and it's not going to change. A benefit is actually something that is the good that is derived from that feature. It's why the customer should care about what the feature is. And so in this example, you've got an iPod here and the storage is 1 gigabyte. So that's the feature, is that you have 1 gigabyte of storage. But the benefit is that you get to carry 1,000 songs around in your pocket.
Okay, Leonard typed in and said one of the features of his business is accurate tax returns.
Excellent. All right, another stage of situation analysis in step one is to list the advantages over your current competition. So identifying your competitive advantages is key to understanding how to best market your business. And often businesses talk about their superior customer service or pricing, but these factors are often not enough to distinguish a business as a leader. So I want you to dig a little bit deeper and find some advantages that you can sell. If you can't find differentiation, that's really a red flag to you that your business needs to offer more unique features. So I want you to start writing down some of your advantages. And as you do that, I'm going to launch a quick poll on how many advantages beyond customer service and price do you have over your competition. So I'm going to select this poll and we're going to launch it. It's going to come up on your screen. And I want you to select one of the following, right? So as you're jotting down what your advantages are, can you not come up with any? Do you think you have 1 to 2? Do you have 3 to 5? Do you have more than 6? You know, where are you at as far as the number of advantages? And so I'm going to give you some time. I'll leave that poll up for about 30 seconds. And let's go on to the third step of situation analysis, which is really your SWOT analysis. And so in your SWOT analysis, I often mention this as part of situation analysis. Again, we're not looking for a 50-page report here, just some notes under each category of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This process can help you complete a really well-rounded assessment of your business. And when you think about your strengths, this is often really similar to what your competitive advantages are. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out this poll. Looks like we've had some good participation. Let's share these results. And this is great. No one answered none, even though there were 2 opportunities to answer none. Good job. So it looks like about 50% of you came up with 1 to 2 competitive advantages, and about the other half came up with 3 to 5 advantages. This is excellent. I always say the golden number here is 3. If you can come up with 3 solid competitive advantages, that's what we're going for. So thanks for your participation in that. All right, so we're through step 1 and we're on to step 2. When describing your target audience, it's always a good idea to describe who your best customer is. So remember that you can have different categories of customers or customer groups. So for example, in my carpet cleaning business, we have commercial and then we have residential customers. And so when I think about who my best commercial customer is, it's really the commercial customer that's interested in perpetual cleaning. We do perpetual cleaning contracts, meaning they want our services monthly or on an ongoing basis. And so our best residential customers are actually property managers or real estate investors with multiple rental properties that require cleaning upon lease renewals or move outs. And then last but not least, if we have a residential customer that is just an individual homeowner, we'd like that individual homeowner to have at least a 3-bedroom house where our fee would be a minimum of $150. That would be ideal. So taking a deeper dive into your target audience involves sometimes answering some demographic questions. So quickly, I'm just going to launch another poll here. And this poll is going to ask you a demographic question. And this is a pretty basic demographic question, which says, what is the household income range for your best customer? So go ahead and answer this question if you have a sense of what you're going for. The poll's up. I'll leave it up for about 30 seconds. And as I give you more examples of questions that you can ask to define your target audience, you can answer that poll question. So the demographics can involve more than just income range. It can be age, gender, family composition, geographic location, lifestyle. Sometimes you can get as deep in asking the question, you know, is your customer timid or aggressive? Are they traditional or modern? Are they introverted or extroverted? How often do they purchase? What I offer? All of those questions can be important in really understanding who that target audience is. All right, that poll's been up for a minute now, so I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And let's share those results with everybody. So it looks like this is a little bit more evenly mixed. We've got about 14% in the $25,000 to $50,000 range, 24% equally in the 50 to 75 and 75 to 100, and 14% in the 100 plus. And interesting, we have about a quarter of people that say it doesn't really matter. And that's common. I hear that quite a bit. I could say that's true in our case to a certain extent. I really don't care what the household income is. If you want to get your carpets clean and you can afford to pay for it, then I'm interested in you being a customer. But that's different than who I necessarily am going to market to or spend advertising dollars against. So it's important to identify some type of demographic information so you can make good decisions on what type of marketing activities you're going to do. All right, that takes us to step number 3 in defining your marketing plan. And to understand how to promote and market your business, it's vital that you know where your business is going, which is why the next step is setting your SMART action goals. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, which are the features or the characteristics your business goals should contain. So we're trying to identify your marketing goals for your business, but the best way to identify those goals is often through your growth or your revenue goals. So again, this doesn't need to contain a 50-page explanation. We're simply looking for business goals that embody those SMART concepts. So let's take a look at the example listed here, and let's identify for ourselves, do we believe that this example is SMART? Okay, so the example is increase existing customer revenue by 20% in the next 6 months. So the first thing we have to ask ourselves is this simple, right? Does this make sense? Is it straightforward? Does it meet the S requirement of the SMART goal? And I would argue that it does. This is pretty straightforward. So if I can pull up my profit and loss statement from my accounting software and I can look to see what my revenue or what my sales have been over the last 6 months, I can track it while I'm going through the 6-month period to see if I'm on track. Am I on track, or have I successfully accomplished increasing my revenue by 20%? Pretty simple. The next is measurable. I think it's obvious that it's measurable. Is it actionable? Yes. Is it reachable? Is it realistic? And so when we talk about it being realistic, I always find that it's helpful to go back and say, okay, well, what would it require in order to increase my revenue by 20% in the next 6 months? And what scenario can I come up with that would allow me to increase my revenue by 20%? And in my own business, I can tell you that if I was able to secure 2 additional commercial perpetual cleaning contracts, that would increase my revenue by 20%. So I believe that it is realistic and reachable and attainable to get 2 more clients inside of the next 6 months. So I'm going to put a check mark for R. And then lastly, is this goal time bound? And it is, because I've said that I want to do this inside of a 6-month period. Okay, we're more than halfway through your marketing plan, and now comes the fun part of developing the actual strategies and tactics that you'll use to reach those prospects. And this really hails all the way back to the sales funnel that we reviewed in the beginning. And what I try to do here is give you some examples of strategies that can be used depending on where your future customer is within your own sales funnel. But before we review some of these ideas, let's launch another quick poll and find out what's worked for you in the past. Because this is always a question that I get from entrepreneurs. And so in this poll, I want to know, of the marketing strategies you've done in the past, what has worked best for you? Is it traditional advertising, which could be print, radio, TV? Is it online marketing and social media? Is it in-person selling, belly to belly, going and meeting people, cold calling type activity? Is it referrals and word of mouth? You know, you basically have put together a cadre of advocates and they're your sales force. They go out there and tell people how great you are. Or are you not really sure? Do you not know yet because you haven't tried anything or you haven't gotten started yet? That's certainly a legitimate answer. So I'll leave that poll up for a couple minutes or for about a minute while we go through some of the different strategies and tactics you could use based off of the sales funnel. And remember, these are just ideas. They're not hard rules. So you're able to get creative and do what works for your industry and your business. So for suspects, again, a suspect is someone you don't know much about. They don't know much about you. It's maybe just a list of companies that your business could do business with. There's lots of different forms of awareness type advertising that you can do. There's also public relations, right? Getting articles or stories written about you, and then just direct marketing type activity. Well, I call it belly to belly in-person sales. Prospects. If you have prospects, then you might have some information on them. So you could do some permission-based email campaigns. You could do loyalty campaigns in order to incentivize them to do business with you, customer appreciation events so that your advocates can work for you with those prospects, among some other ideas. And then lastly, hot prospects. So these are people that are right on the fence, you know, considering to purchase from you. Interpersonal sales contact is always the best in this case, whether it's in person or by phone or email, combined with any kind of marketing activities that just adds that final heat that's necessary to close the business. Okay, poll's been open for about 2 minutes, so let's close that out and share the results. And no surprise here, referrals and word of mouth is what works best for you, 55% of the time. 23% in-person selling and cold calling, 18% is doing online marketing and social media, and then our poor traditional advertising group, only 5% feel like that has worked best for your business. And this is a really common result that we see out there across a variety of different industries. Building advocates is always our best source of marketing and advertising that we can do, because if our customers are happy with us, then they're going to tell other people about us. It doesn't mean that we don't want to have other marketing strategies in our back pocket in order to bring in suspects and convert them into prospects, but it really does show you how important customer service is within your business, and that superior customer service absolutely needs to be part of your marketing strategy. Okay, so we are going to move on now to developing your actual marketing communication strategies and tactics. So remembering that your primary marketing strategies is really just identifying that ideal marketing mix. And so you'll notice on this graphic, this certainly is not everything that you could do. But what you want to start defining for your own business is the how-to tactics that you'll end up using in order to develop that marketing strategy. And so last but not least is setting your marketing budget. And I get this question a lot, which is, why the heck is this step 5, right? A lot of small businesses believe that they have pretty much $0 for marketing. And so the reason this is step 5 is because I want your planning to be your ideal marketing plan, not necessarily based on the budgeted dollars you have. Because once we understand the reality of the financial situation, which is step 5, then we can go back and just cherry pick the marketing strategies and the tactics that match your budget. But your plan should be bigger than that, because in the future, you can go back to that plan and you can implement new strategies and tactics as you have the money to do so. So to set your marketing budget, there really is not a magic formula or a percentage. That's another question that I get a lot is, so how do I set this? Does it need to be 2%? Does it need to be 7%? That is a range that some people use, 2 to 7%, of their overall income. But if you're a brand new business and you don't have any revenue yet, that formula is kind of tough. So there's often industry guidelines that you can follow in your specific industry, but at the end of the day, the answer that you come up with for your business is really about your own bank account and your own risk tolerance when it comes to spending marketing dollars. So I want you to know that I've personally started businesses, the current business I have included, with a total marketing budget of less than $500. So you don't have to have thousands of dollars in order to launch your business. There are things that you can do from a marketing standpoint to get your name out there, to get your business recognized in your own marketplace that don't cost a ton of money. So when you set your marketing budgets, I mentioned that 2 to 7% range because that can be industry standard. But you want to ask yourself the question, what industry am I in? And what's standard in my particular industry? How established is your business? And then last but not least, you really do have to be realistic about how much you can afford. You know, what makes the most sense. So here's an example of the marketing plan broken down into categories of tactics. And I want you to think about your industry and the marketing opportunities that are available to you. And start jotting down some ideas that come to mind right now. And if you want to share in the chat box, you know, go right ahead. An example that I'll give you for my own business is I've got a marketing opportunity to exhibit, excuse me, to exhibit at the Laramie Home Show. And so I'm in Laramie, I'm in Southeast Wyoming. It's really my group that I'm marketing to. And so the question is, if I participate in this trade show, you know, what is the customer group that I'm identifying by participating in that home show? And what is the conversion rate I think I'm going to be able to get from the suspects that see my booth versus the actual customers that book appointments with me? And so part of establishing your budget is really understanding what you think the return on that investment is going to be. So the last thing that's important in your marketing plan is really evaluating the success. So after you've implemented whatever strategies and tactics you've decided to do, then the main question is, was it effective, right? How are you going to track the advertising and the promotions that you do to understand if they worked or not? And so these are just some simple examples of things that you can do to track. You know, are you looking at your Google Analytics for website conversions? Do you count the number of signups to your overall email list? How many followers and likes on social media are you getting, and what's the level of engagement, you know, from your prospects or from your customer group? I'm a big fan of asking customers how they found out about us, or sending out a customer survey after the fact, you know, asking about their experience. And one of those questions is always, how did they find out about us? So that I can understand what marketing strategies and tactics I'm using that are working the best. And then the other recommendation I like to make is that testing programs over the course of a 30 or 60-day period is important. You know, it can be a simple spreadsheet or a tally sheet in order to evaluate the results. Often when you purchase advertising, you know, the reps will tell you, well, you need to do this for a minimum of 12 months, right? Or 18 months in order to see the results. And that can be true sometimes with traditional advertising. Again, you have to balance that with the amount of money you have to invest in advertising to begin with. And if it's going to take 12 or 18 months to get a return, do you have that kind of flexibility in order to wait for that to happen? All right, last but not least, I always like to mention the online marketing toolbox. And so this is just a quick tip for absolutely all businesses. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. This list is a must-have for your business online. Every business in 2018 must have these online tools, or customers are going to be unable to verify that you exist, and your business is going to lack credibility. So if any of you are missing any of these 5 tools, be sure to incorporate the development of these tools into your marketing plan. So the first being a mobile-friendly website. You must have a website. You must have a private domain name. That is obvious to your business. So mobile friendly is important because so many of the searches are happening now on people's devices. Your website doesn't have to be anything fancy, but it does need to include at least one page on your products or services, one page that gives the history of how you started your company and about yourself in order to, again, lend credibility if people are interested in checking that. And then lastly, a contact us page so that people know how to reach you. The second tool is a Google My Business listing. When you sign up for a Google My Business listing, this is called an online citation. And Google My Business is the primary online citation you must have. Almost 70% of all searches that are done on the web are done through Google. So truthfully, if you don't have a Google My Business listing, you don't exist online. And that's a priority in today's marketplace. Next is a Facebook business page, as well as a LinkedIn personal page that's highlighting your business and industry experience, both of which are going to be linked to your website. This is called a backlink. Those backlinks that go to your website help your search engine optimization. So having a Facebook business page and maintaining current information on that Facebook page is important. Again, it lends to your credibility, lets people know that you're operating and in business. And then last but not least, I always mention professional looking images, photos, logos, graphics. Your credibility and your business is seen online through the images that you put on the internet. And so I'm not saying you have to hire a professional photographer in order to get those images, although for some people, businesses, that's important. What I am saying is you want to make sure the images look professional. They need to be clear, they need to be the right size, so on and so forth, so that those images give a good representation for your business. All right, so I would be remiss if I did not mention our funding partners. The Business Center, the Wyoming Women's Business Center, is made possible through several partnership agencies, the two primary ones being the Wyoming Business Council and the Small Business Administration, and we certainly thank them for their support. All right, so I'm going to turn it back over to Waldo to see what questions we have on today's webinar.
We don't have any questions, but if you have one that pertains specifically, please type it into the question box or the chat box, and we will do our best to answer those.
Waldo, I think it's because I'm so thorough, right? They
yes.
couldn't have a question.
How do you go about if you are just kind of starting cold and come up with a new idea? What's the best way to try to identify who your market audience is?
So I always think a great thing to do is look at your competitors in your market. If you don't have any direct competitors in your market, then go to a market next door to you, right? So if someone doesn't have this type of business in your small community in Wyoming, I'm pretty sure they have this kind of business in Salt Lake City or in Denver or some market that is neighboring us. And so look at the competitors and try to understand what they've done and what their audience is. And that can give you a good starting point.
So let's say I do have competitors in my community. How do I go about differentiating? Say I've got a carpet cleaning business and I'm a competitor of yours. How do I go about differentiating my service from yours?
So in our case, we were interested in this industry and we looked around at the other carpet cleaners in the region or in the area. And we realized that the majority, if not all, of the carpet cleaners in our area were offering steam cleaning, which were the very large trucks and hoses that get brought in and through your house. And your carpets are usually wet for up to 24 hours, sometimes even longer than that, depending on stains and things that people were trying to get out. So we knew immediately that opening up yet another steam cleaning carpet company was not going to have a major advantage. And so part of our research involved looking for different technology and different ways to clean carpets and clean floors that didn't involve a truck mount system. And so before we even launched our company, we realized we needed that to be a competitive advantage. And so we identified low moisture or dry clean technology as a primary competitive advantage. So sometimes identifying your competitive advantages can be part of coming up with your business plan. Other times you're already in business. You're already in business and you're struggling to identify competitive advantages, then this is an opportunity to bring an additional feature or an additional service or product into your business so you are differentiated, right? So if you are, say you're a clothing store, and you seem to be carrying a lot of the same clothing as the store down the street. So if anybody lives in Laramie, you know that it's impossible to have a clothing store unless you carry University of Wyoming gear, right? It's almost like the style or the fashion in Laramie is to wear a UW sweatshirt. So no matter what clothing store you go into, there's UW gear. The question is some of the gear different than others? Or is this particular store offering vests where someone else, is specializing in sweatshirts? Or can you get something added to that sweatshirt instead of just the UW logo, but they're doing screen printing in addition to that. So you need to find additional features that you can present that gives you a competitive advantage. All right, so our contact information is on the screen for various business counselors within the Wyoming Women's Business Center, and my information is there as well. We're happy to help you going forward, and we always appreciate it if you tell your friends and colleagues about us and our services. So Waldo, I'll turn it back over to you for the closing.
Okay, well, we want to thank everyone for joining us today. Our next webinar is scheduled for Thursday, February 22nd. It will be from noon to 1 again, so a lunch and learn session. Our topic will be, do you provide excellent customer service? And I think this will be an interesting one for everyone, so please plan on joining us again. Please take the survey to when you leave this, either as you exit out or it will be emailed to you. This does help us, gives us feedback, and allows us to report statistics onto our funding sources. We do read the surveys, and so we do appreciate your comments as well. If you have any additional questions or need further assistance, please feel free to contact us through our emails, our phone numbers that Christine shared. Our business counseling is free, and we'd be more than happy to assist you in any way that we can. Thank you for joining us, and you all have a great day.